Dungeon Fighter Duel initially feels weirder than most fighting games out there. What would be a simple jab or a kick for a character in most games is a half-screen gun blast in this one. It doesn't take long to realize that the roster here is a bunch of unhinged characters too sinful to have a place in most other fighting games. But they feel right at home in this one, and that's what makes DNF Duel stand out so well. It's the fighting game version of...
And when everyone's super... no one will be.
Which is good for balancing. It has a reputation for being packed with bullshit, but this seems to be okay because a lot of the FGC has taken kindly to it. Everyone is broken, so everyone is fun. Everyone is broken, so everyone is fair. It's a sentiment that I've run into a few times, one that I don't doubt has some ties to the critique of many modern fighting games as being tame. But I don't want to buy into what feels like some sort of narrative about the beta balanced fighting game versus the Chad broken fighting game. Focusing on the bullshit as a reason DNF is fun does a disservice to the great design choices that are present within DNF Duel. Yes, being able to do something as absurd as take half of someone's health from a safe DP makes for a good time. But there's definitely something else that's keeping me glued to this game. After all, my honest character doesn't have any broken tools, so there must be some other reason I enjoy this game. Right? I mean, there's something, but I can't quite put my finger on it. There's a beautiful cohesion to how the system mechanics are designed. The round I'm showing can demonstrate this, but it's easy to miss. I'll show it again, but first, what are these mechanics anyway? In no particular order, there is the mana gauge, guard break, guard cancel, and conversion. Each of these mechanics, on their own, are rather simple. The mana gauge is a constantly regenerating meter that you can spend to use your mana special moves. If you fully deplete this meter, you'll enter exhaust, where you can't use any more mana special moves until some of the gauge recovers. Mana special moves are integral to every character's toolkit, for combos, for neutral, for pressure, for access to DP, and more. Something to keep in mind is that whenever they hit an opponent, it removes all of their white health, which would have otherwise slowly regenerated into actual health over time. Exactly what you'd expect, guard break is when your guard gauge fully drains from blocking for too long and, well, your guard is broken. Then your opponent gets a free combo, except it's not literally free because they're probably about to spend mana to do it. Guard Cancel is your typical guard cancel, an escape tool that costs 100 mana and can be used while blocking, very helpful for preventing guard breaks. And finally, Conversion. Probably the most flexible tool on its own, it's a mechanic that allows you to cancel your current action at the cost of all your current white health, as opposed to letting that white health potentially regenerate over time. There are a few different ways that you can use Conversion, like for mix-ups or for extending combos, but in a vacuum, this isn't anything new in the fighting game space. Hell, it's exactly like Baroque in Tatsunoko vs Capcom, except without the damage buff and rainbow colors. None of these system mechanics are anything I haven't seen before, but their implementation in DNF lends to a beautiful cohesion that I'm going to attempt to demonstrate to you now, by jumping into my mind. Okay, so, beginning from here, I'm in your typical fighting game scenario, cornered and blocking. This Hitman player is keeping up the offense, and DNF Duel isn't the type of game where I can get away with blocking to my heart's content. My white health is building, my guard gauge is depleting. As much as I'd love to sit here and block all day, these mechanics aren't gonna let me. I need an out. Fast. My options are either 1. Wait on an opening. 2. Spend 100 mana on guard cancel. 3. Try rolling out of his pressure. 4. DP. Oh wait, Ghostblade doesn't have a DP, scratch that one. Option 1, wait, is a bit risky. My guard gauge is already low. Waiting any longer means risking losing all that white health. Option 2, Guard Cancel is probably the safest option here, but it costs 100 mana. Not only am I a bit greedy, I feel like I need all the mana I can get if I want to even up the health gauges here. Option 3, Roll, isn't a bad one. It doesn't cost any mana and has some invulnerability frames to it. It can easily be punished if the opponent anticipates it, but I'm betting that my opponent's eagerness to break my guard will give me an opening to slip right out of that corner. So yeah, I'm choosing option 3, Roll. Okay, so option 3 was not the right option. I rolled right into his arms and he threw me. Oops. Okay, I have even less health and we are in the same predicament. Now for the second try. Okay, this guard gauge is real low, and so is my health. If he breaks my guard, I'm dead for sure. There's no longer an opportunity to be greedy, so yeah, I'm gonna guard cancel. I have 200 mana right now anyway, so it doesn't hurt to spend it. So, it worked and I'm out. Thank goodness. But the worry isn't over yet. My guard gauge is still low and I still have a huge chunk of white health. What I need is time. That's what these system mechanics are designed around. Time. As soon as I've gotten some room to breathe, my objective is to buy time. I need more mana. That takes time to regenerate. I need more health. That takes time to regenerate. I need more guard gauge. That takes time to regenerate. All of these mechanics are dependent on time, but of course my opponent is aware of this and isn't going to afford me any time, so I need to decide. Do I buy time by paying in mana, by paying in health, or by paying in guard gauge? Well, in this particular do or die scenario, I'm gonna make a rather safe choice. I'm gonna spend some mana and have my ghost force Hitman to wait. Unfortunately, that kinda just lasted a mere second and Hitman is already coming at me again. Okay, so here, if I were a safer player, I'd spend more mana to ensure my ghost kept me safe. But I'm not blowing all of my mana just to buy time. You can't win if you're just playing not to die. So, while other players may have opted to spend more mana to achieve something kind of akin to this, I'm gonna go for something a little weaker, but mana free. It's slow, it's barely vertical, and oh, he evaded it. Okay, that's trouble. Or is it? Remember I said he doesn't want to give me any time? Well, his desperation to make me block again makes him a little predictable. He wants to use that one lunging attack that Hitman has so that he can't give me any room to breathe. But, knowing that, I'm just gonna roll before I can even confirm he's chosen that option. And look at that, the tables are turned. It feels good to fight your way out of a tough situation and turn the tables, but it feels even better doing it while your health regenerates and theirs dissipates. Just like that, suddenly our health values are equal. All it took was a few important decisions about how I wanted to bet with the system mechanics. For example, the combo I performed when I actually got the hit wouldn't have been possible if I had spent more mana on safely keeping Hitman away from me. That means if I did play it safe, when I did get a hit, it likely would have been a shorter combo, which means less time to regenerate white health and less damage to Hitman. And in that imagined scenario, he could have also just gotten up after that short combo and, hit me and I lost all that white health. But anyway, I beat his ass. I kinda stumbled along the way because of all that mana I'd previously spent on guard breaking and playing a tiny bit of neutral. I still didn't have enough time to regenerate all the mana I'd spent, so I couldn't consistently loop full combos. Domino effect, I guess. But anyway, the fun for me was in the decision making. I chose what resource I wanted to bet, and it was the riskier but more rewarding choice that paid off. Maybe if this was a tournament or just a different day, I would have instead spent more mana trying to keep Hitman away and either succeeded or failed. I don't know. But what I do know is that I credit this kind of fun I'm having with DNF Duel to the system mechanics, not the bullshit. In fact, while I welcome a lot of the bullshit in this game, I actually think some of it is potentially getting in the way of some fun to be had. I mean, look at Striker. This character has the unique ability to rebeat her strings, meaning that she can cancel any one of her buttons into one another on hit or block, unlike the rest of the cast that has to follow an invisible sequence of Gatlings. That's a pretty cool unique trait. but it's completely overshadowed by her current shtick of running the exact same infinite block string on you until you die. There's enjoyment in that kind of ridiculous power itself, but it's not very engaging. I do wonder what kind of gameplay I could have seen from striker players if this infinite block string wasn't the obvious go-to. I mean, in tournament, you might get a taste of what she could have been,
That was super duper duper good.
but most of the time it's just the same old thing. DNF Duel is more than its bullshit, but that aspect of the game is heavily tied to its reputation. Maybe it's because the game was developed by A-Ting, the guys behind the infamously bullshit Marvel 3. Or maybe it's because some of the FGC have been unsatisfied with recent releases where power levels have seemingly been toned down. Although DNF Duel can offer you powerful characters, I think it's worth recognizing other elements of the gameplay that go a long way in making DNF Duel a fun experience. Fighting games are composed of many deliberate and careful design choices that you may barely notice unless they're implemented badly. DNF Duel isn't perfect, but for their first version of the game, they've done a pretty good job. By the way, I'm not actually going to talk about conversion, though I'm sure it has its relevance somewhere here. I just wanted an excuse to put Tatsunoko vs Capcom in the video. What do you like about DNF Duel? This is what some of my friends had to say. Please leave a comment on what you like about the game, even if it's just the bullshit of it all. Hey, if it's fun, it's fun.
2-2!